Does Kamala listen? Kamala Harris did a town hall meeting with Univision where you could tell that she did not have pre-rehearsed questions because she gave her usual word salad answers.
Live in the affected area, like Ramiro Gonzalez. Our first question, he's in construction. He lives in Tampa. His home is there. Ramiro González está en la construcción. Él vive en Tampa y tiene una pregunta para la señora.
And he's got a question for Ms. Vice President.
Buenas noches, señor.
Good evening, Ms. Vice President. I spent the entire night looking at news, tracking the hurricane that was going through my family's house. 2 weeks ago, there was another hurricane that came through the same neighborhood. They are saying, or rumors are, that your administration didn't do enough to respond to the last hurricane. What would you specifically do, or your administration do, to help us in the Tampa Bay area or the Central Florida area with this hurricane?
The administration didn't do enough in terms of relief for families affected by Helene. What would your administration do differently in the case of Milton?
That was kind of odd. The instant translator for Univision carefully detailed what this man's question was in Spanish, and then the host standing next to Kamala Harris had to summarize the question for her again. So the first questioner had two very simple comments. One, they say that your administration, the Biden-Harris administration, still in office, did not do enough for victims of Hurricane Helene, particularly in the state of North Carolina. Then he asked his question, what is your administration's plans to help those of us in Florida facing Hurricane Milton?
Well, first of all, thank you for the question, and I hope your family is okay and your home is okay.
Yes, they are, ma'am.
Okay. So there's been
This was before Hurricane Milton actually reached Florida, so I'm not sure what her statement is. It doesn't make any sense. He's asking about what she plans to do after Hurricane Milton arrives in Florida. She doesn't seem to be aware that it hasn't actually struck Florida yet.
Okay. So there's been a lot of mis and disinformation about what we have been doing over the last 2 weeks and what we are going to do going forward. And I have to stress that this is not a time for people to play politics. You know, I started my career as a prosecutor. And when I worked doing that job of my goal of keeping people safe, I never asked a witness or a victim of crime, are you a Republican, are you a Democrat? The only question I ever asked is, are you okay? And sadly, we have seen over the last 2 weeks since Hurricane Helene and now in the immediate aftermath of Milton, where people are playing political games suggesting that resources and support is only going to certain people based on a political agenda. And this is just not accurate. I have been working over the course of the last couple of years, not even couple of years, my whole career, but couple of weeks with people on the ground in Georgia, in North Carolina, in Florida, in the Southeast corridor, Republicans, Democrats, to work in getting relief that is about bringing FEMA resources on the ground, reminding people that they are entitled to relief. Don't listen to anyone who says that you're not entitled. Doing the work. I was just on a secure meeting today with the President, with the Secretary of Defense, with the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, with the head of the Coast Guard, with the General representing NORTHCOM, talking about how the federal, state, and local governments are working together for the benefit of the people on the ground. Another piece of work that I've been doing, it's based on my years of being an Attorney General in California, is telling those corporations and those companies that during crisis and emergencies, jack up prices, and I've seen it happen before, that we're watching them, and at a moment of desperation for these individuals and families, whether it be to be able to get temporary shelter at a hotel, for gas prices, for even airline tickets, that we'll be watching if they're jacking up prices to make sure there'll be serious consequence. And that's the kind of work I will do going forward. I have spent my career, the vast majority of my career, concerning myself with the safety and well-being of people. And I promise you, and I pledge to you as president, I will continue to do that. You have a right to know that your government and its leaders are putting you first and not themselves.
Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you.
So you notice they didn't provide this man with a instant translation from English to Spanish. He's nodding along, but this apparently was just a propaganda opportunity for Kamala Harris to show that she cares. The problem is she didn't answer his question. She immediately started saying that any critic of the Biden-Harris's response to Hurricane Helena was engaging in disinformation and misinformation.
Okay, so there has been a lot of mis and disinformation about what we have been doing over the last 2 weeks and what we are going to do going forward.
She didn't say anything in response to what he was asking her. It was a very simple question. What is your administration's plans to help those of us in Florida facing Hurricane Milton?
Chairman of the Joint Chiefs with
I'm not sure what speaking with the chairman of the Joint Chiefs has to do with hurricane relief.
the head of the Coast Guard, with the general representing NORTHCOM, talking about how
People are like, what is she talking about?
the federal, state, and local governments are working together for the benefit of the people on the ground. Another piece of work
So she really didn't say anything.
that I've been doing, it's based on my years of being an attorney general in California, is telling those corporations and those companies that during crisis and emergencies, jack up prices. And I've seen it happen before.
So there's no documentation of this actually happening. What is she talking about? She's waving around complaining about the evil corporations. Her response to his first statement about the lack of the Biden-Harris response on Hurricane Helena, we can presume she's talking about Donald Trump. But the way she worded it was anyone who criticized her response to Hurricane Helena was guilty of a crime of disinformation and misinformation. That's not how democracy works, Miss Harris. Any American citizen is permitted to criticize their government. If you think that's a crime, maybe you shouldn't be seeking the presidency of the United States of America. She continually touches her chest
Jacking up prices
to show,
to make sure there'll be serious
familia,
consequence.
I care.
And that's the kind of work I
care
will do
so
going
much
forward.
about
I
you.
have spent my
I
career, the
care.
vast
I'm a
majority of my
caring
career,
person.
concerned.
I hope that approach works for her. He was simply looking for a factual response to his question, and he didn't get it. All Kamala Harris had to do in this opening question was give him a factual response. Instead, she attacked Donald Trump and said anyone who disagrees with her is engaging in disinformation. This is what she's going to bring to the presidency of the United States if she gets into office. And you can expect more word salad responses where she tries to sound like she's speaking meaningfully, but says absolute gibberish. Why would you vote for a person like this who's clearly unqualified for the position of the presidency? Thank you.